Hello, everybody. We are back again with another episode of the Capes Cast podcast. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Ryan.
It's a couple days late again, so sorry about that, but I was on vacation.
Hey,
I was at Disneyland, chilling down there. I rode as many rides as I could and ate as much food as I could. Barely, dude, I've barely touched a comic.
yeah. I know you
I
said you're reading online, which sounds like a nightmare reading in the car, dude. So,
Dude, yeah, I had read I had just finished uh the Surtur saga
okay.
in in Simonson's run.
Yeah.
Like literally like the day we were leaving on our trip, which is the 31st. Like I finished it on the ride down and I was like, all right, I can stop here.
Yeah.
And I said I can wait on some new comics, for a little bit and then like when I get back and then I uh I told myself I was gonna try and read like in line. I read maybe like two more issues after that,
Hmm.
you know? Like so I I I finished out March barely even getting like 15 issues into Simonson's run. I
Yeah.
just and I read a whole bunch of this. I read Decorum. I finished the Black Monday Murders
I know you
like
told me I
on
needed to read that.
the drive down. It was tight, man.
Yeah.
It was cool. It's the first half is really dense, but like
It's eight, right?
the last like yeah.
It's 8 issues, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
assuming
just
he had to
eight.
like just throw everything in.
Yeah, and like the last three issues is just bam, bam, bam.
Hmm.
Like, and they're all pretty similar in page count. Like, I won't spend too much time talking about it. It was just really good. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. But yeah, it was cool, man. It was like the first five issues is just like 60 to 40 pages, like solid each,
Hmm. Damn.
and or 40 to 60 pages, and like that first issue is just a slammer, bro. Like it's long,
Yeah.
and yeah, the last three issues is just like quick. Like everything, it's like you get the whole mystery for that like first bit, and then as soon as things start to unravel, it just happens so fast.
Right.
In,
Is
in,
it
in
done, or is
classic
it like,
Hickman,
is it done, or does it leave it to where if he wanted to pick up where
yeah, it's open ended. Like there's some things that were set up, and I don't know, we'll see.
Hmm.
But it's been done for a few years, and just like Decorum and other books that he's done, we'll see, because
Yeah.
he's still doing that three moons, three planets, or whatever it's called. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? On his
Mhm.
Substack. And that's supposed to have like a hardcover release here soon, I thought. And it's supposed to be like all of the Substack material.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
So I'm interested to see what it's about because it's like Mike Del Mundo, Mike, and then Middleston who worked on Decorum. So I don't know if they're expanding it through that, or I have no idea. I have no idea what it's about. But I'd be interested to see. Three Worlds, Three Moons, I think is what it might be called actually.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm interested in that too. But let's get on to what we're actually here for. Batman Dark Age. All
So
right.
we've been waiting for, man. We've been waiting for this in Superman, and since it
Yes.
was announced, it was
Yes. It's funny because I don't really care for Batman. We all know this. I'm not it's no secret at this
I know.
point. But
You're
like
the type of person where it's like I just don't think you like main
main
continuity
continuity,
Batman, but if a good writer gets a different handle on him, like if a writer you enjoy
I'll
gets
give it a shot. Yeah.
yeah. And
Okay, that's fair. I
because I mean,
and
First Night you liked, right? So you
Yeah,
like,
I really liked First Night. That was good too. But
mhm.
I mean, maybe by the end of this, it'll get me started on like a Batman kick,
Yeah,
like Superman Space Age did.
right.
Which so that's a good segue into things because Superman Space Age was a three-part uh miniseries
Mm-hmm.
from Black Label that came out uh what 2021, 2022.
2022, yeah.
It finished early 2022. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, 2023 it finished, I thought.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Because it was like February, I think.
You're right.
So yeah, it finished early last year. And in the end of that book, I mean, it's been out for quite some time, so it's not really, but spoilers. Bruce Wayne dies in like a fake out switch with the Joker
Mhm.
and gets them both killed. And it's kind of like the end of Bruce Wayne. and the end of that universe, because what like it all culminated in like Crisis on Infinite Earths, but from like a diff like from Superman's perspective. So we really never saw the Anti-Monitor. We never saw the battle that happened in Crisis. It's
Right.
just an alt Earth where Superman basically cured all diseases from in Earth, while also collecting the DNA of as many people as he could, so that way he could send a Kryptonian crystal with all their DNA into another universe with a living Superman.
Right. So that
So
it could bring them all back to life with that DNA.
yes.
Yeah.
So and I don't know if and that's where we're left with that is like all of those people are brought back, and that universe of Superman, which had lost everything. His planet had died, Earth had died, so he was like left alone.
Hmm.
And so it was like a gift from this Clark, knowing his universe was about to die. He was able to pass it on to a Superman who had lost everything.
Right.
Um, which is like a beautiful
Yeah.
thing, man.
I
It was
love
like like that's one of the few books that are really like I just think about all the time.
it. Hmm.
It's crazy. I
It
really
captured
love
the essence of
that book.
Superman perfectly. Like
Yeah,
perfect.
and it's phenomenal. Like Mark Russell did such a good job, and then Michael Allred on art is just unmatched, bro. Like for these
Yeah.
kinds of stories, it's so good.
Yeah, they're a dream team I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And
it's
this is where we're kind of picking up with Batman Dark Age. So
mm,
this clearly that universe that Bruce Wayne died in no longer exists. So this is an alternate universe from Space Age where we see like the life of Bruce Wayne.
and also in the space age, he was more of like the Adam West flashy
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
Batman.
He was
You know,
very
this
like
one's not really like
weird.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
more like
He was very golden age Batman, kind
mhm,
of goofy, lighthearted.
mhm.
But yeah, this is definitely following more of like a noir crime
Yeah.
Batman tone that, probably I would say like late, you could probably consider it like 70s maybe before we really got in with like the gritty in the 80s and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, man, like before we even dive into like the interior on this book, like this definitely surpassed my expectations in
Mhm.
terms of like just a first issue, because with Space Age, it was huge, man. They were like 100 pages
Yeah.
almost. So these being like half of that, and unfortunately they're not.
Right. That's my only nitpick complaint is I wish I could just
Yeah,
put them on my
it's like I wish they were the square bound, like the
but
Space Age.
it kind of evens out because it's going to be 6 issues. That was 3, so they kind of
Right, right. So that's okay. Regardless, I'm even glad we're getting a book like this because I
mhm.
really liked Space Age. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to go for this book. Um, so then it's a little bit of a different twist on Bruce's origin as Batman too, because he doesn't go with his parents
Right.
to the theater the night they die.
Right.
So it's an interesting take because it's like the Bruce Wayne that we know, like prime Earth Bruce Wayne, what drives him is he saw his parents get murdered, and that's kind of like what started
And
everything.
just
Whereas
trauma.
here,
Just trauma from just seeing his parents dead.
yeah, exactly, like exactly. So whereas in this, he's still like obviously he's heartbroken that his parents are gone, but he didn't like see it happen, so that he wasn't as traumatized. So he's kind of living out this reckless rich boy, life where he's like buying stuff on a whim, getting into trouble, getting in and out of jail because the Wayne Enterprise lawyers will afford it, or
Right.
can't Wayne the Wayne Enterprises can't afford it. So he's like, he can kind of get away with what he wants to.
Right. He's basically just being that spoiled rich kid who could just do whatever
Yeah,
he wants because he can get out of trouble whenever he wants and taking advantage of status.
right. And it's so funny because I feel like I'm noticing this trend a lot recently in comics, and it's like we're we're kind of like opening up with a perspective of like it's the main character is old and they're reflecting on their life,
It's
you know?
very Tom King esque.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
exactly. And I don't Space Age wasn't necessarily that way, but
No.
but like it is cool to see this because it's like this Bruce is getting to relive his own life because is aren't his memories like fading, right?
Yes.
So like he's kind of like dementia, maybe.
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't
it's the
know.
year 2030, which pretty
Yeah.
much means that, when we get into it, this universe
Yes.
survives.
Yeah. So right, and that was gonna be my that's obviously the biggest question, but is what is gonna happen come 85, when crisis is supposed to happen?
Right.
Because as of space age, like gone, you
Yeah.
know? They so I don't know. We'll see what happens, or maybe there will be some epic twist, here at the end, and we may not ever get to 2030. I don't know what he has in store for the next several issues.
Right.
Who knows? I don't know. Again, I'm just looking forward to everything that this
I
book is
know,
gonna
man,
give us.
and I think it's really cool too with the whole thing, like, of basically Alfred basically having him to find basically go into the Batcave more or less, when
Mhm.
a robber's, like, coming in, he goes into hide and he finds a Batcave and
Right.
like that.
Uh, I I had a question.
What's
These
that?
False Face Society, are they like actual Batman rogues?
No, this is new.
So they're like original characters for this book.
I believe so, yeah.
That's cool, man. Like, and I like these. What I find interesting is they're like literally right there. They just blast the Waynes.
Yeah,
So like, okay, like we'll start over. So like, we're getting the flashback to Bruce's life when he's young. The opening scene is him remembering these things and kind of like remembering his life. And it's 1957, and that's the night his parents die when they go out to see, Zorro, the Mark of Zorro. So Bruce doesn't go. He's just hanging out at home, reading some books, getting ready for bed. And then when it happens, there are these two, like they're in all black, and then they have these like stone like masks.
yeah, it's very Dark Side-esque almost. It's like
Yeah, and you notice right away that one of them is wearing Martha's pearls,
yes,
which
yes,
is like we only know them covered in blood, and this guy is
right.
just like, hey,
Yeah, I'll take that, yeah.
uh, it's yeah, and I'm interested to see how big of a role they're gonna play because they kind of seem like they're connected to another character that we're gonna talk about later.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, right away they're just like nothing to see, folks, just another unsolved murder. Like they're bold, man. It makes it interesting. Whereas like it was in Crime Alley
Yeah,
originally, and it was like nobody really saw it, and it was just a quick mugging.
right. This is in
Not this
front of
like
the theater. This is, like, right
yeah,
in front.
yeah, literally right in front of people, and it's from like a criminal syndicate, not just some random thug that killed his parents. Like
Right,
this was like almost like an orchestrated thing.
right,
So, which kind of ties into what we know happens later on.
right,
So, like after this, after the death of Thomas Wayne, um, like the board of Wayne Enterprises is kind of left to deal with everything. So they're trying to figure out who's going to replace him.
right,
Lucius Fox, excludes himself from the vote, so he's not going to take it. And Bruce is not old enough to take on that role until he's 18.
right,
So there's like a placeholder like president until then.
right, but we all know what happens when people have power, they don't wanna give it up. So,
Of course. Of
me
course. And that's how it's seriously going to go.
yeah,
And so like right as soon as Lucius walks out of the room, they slap on these false face society masks. So something's definitely being cooked up. It kind of seems like they're taking the role of like the Court of Owls.
in a way, yeah, I can see that.
Maybe they've been doing these like workings behind the scenes in Gotham for a long time.
Right,
Either way, it's a really interesting take. It kind of sets the tone for what Bruce has to do to kind of get back on top and take the seat of power at Wayne Enterprises again.
right,
He's gonna have to just take apart this entire criminal syndicate.
mhm,
Excuse me. So yeah, and then we get like quick to Wayne Manor. It's just a couple pages, and Alfred thinks that somebody's gonna break in,
right,
and so he tells Bruce to run off, and he finds a cave, and it's full of bats. We just a cool, twist on the classic. Bruce stumbles into a cave of bats, and
Yeah.
that's how he becomes Bat. That's how he gets the idea for Batman.
Hmm.
Um, but it ends up just being, the gardener.
Right.
You know,
But Alfred's with it, man. He's got
yeah, man. Like, I feel like Alfred is probably my favorite Batman character.
yeah, he's always, dude. He doesn't care. He's like, yeah, my
Like,
master's anti-gun.
and maybe that's what I feel like I'm missing in, like, and
Current.
obviously now that he's dead, like in current Batman, I feel like it's a tangent for a second. I feel like if Alfred were still around, Zdarsky's run would be a little bit different, and I feel like I would enjoy it having
It wouldn't
Alfred
work.
as
It wouldn't work because Alfred would be there to turn failsafe off whenever he turned on.
like,
So, um, yeah, and so
or maybe, or you don't have to kill Alfred. You could injure him, and he can't get to the failsafe in time. Yeah, I don't
right,
know.
right,
It would still be cool to see Zdarsky like get. He did write him in Batman of Gotham a little bit, but it
yeah,
wasn't our Alfred. Like, shame, dude. Okay,
yeah,
I'm over that. But we have Alfred in this, so it's fine,
yeah.
and he's badass.
He's
And
awesome.
it's funny, man, because like he's always just like he's just looking out for Bruce. He's just doing his job. It's 1963 now. Bruce is getting busted out of jail.
And he's not in his dapper clothing. He's in some like messy, like
Like
short,
his school
red.
uniform, yeah.
Nothing's matching, like yellow tie, red
Yeah.
shirt,
And
blue.
then literally within probably hours of that, he's jumping into the Gotham Zoo, after hours,
Yep.
gets busted out, and he's even like, it's almost like he knows, because he can pay off some of these cops. Will be like, hey, let's get cheeseburgers on the way back,
Right.
because he knows that they're just gonna let him go, and he can just pay him off, and it's not a big deal, and he can just act however he wants. Like, he's in this mindset of like, I almost have no rules,
Right.
because I'm rich. I have nobody to tell me like, don't do this. You can do this. Like, no, like, right from wrong. Like, he was just left alone. I mean, he has Alfred, but it's not the same.
Right.
Like, he doesn't see he's not at that point where he sees Alfred as like a father figure.
Right.
He
And
just sees him
Alfred's
as
not
a
at that
buffer.
point where he's comfortable kind of yelling at Bruce yet, like a father figure, you know?
Right. And I feel like there's even a point in this book where he's like, "Oh, you're just the help."
Yep.
So like,
Even he doesn't realize like the parental figure Alfred is.
yeah. And so like, after this happens, they drop him off. He ends up having to go to court. There's like just a crew of lawyers
Hmm.
from Wayne Enterprises. Like the whole legal team. There's like 8 of them, and he's just confident. He's like, "Oh, it's no big deal. I'm getting out, no problem. It's whatever." And then when he's waiting outside, he's hanging out with Miss Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
He's meeting her for the very first time. She's she's kind of everything that she is in the main DC universe, but just the same age, practically the same age as Bruce right now.
Right.
Just kind of gives them a little tighter origin, and like gives them, some history together from like the get-go.
Hmm.
So Alfred, he's like, "Oh, I got some donuts on the way. Like, you want a donut? We'll get out of here." And then sure enough, she splits and he doesn't notice it.
Yeah, she pulls a Batman on him and he looks
Yeah.
at it and then she just gone, you know.
Yeah. So like, even then he can tell like you know, she's slippery.
Yeah.
And then he's just kind of like roaming the streets of Gotham, and then he ends up at this comedy, it's like a coffee house.
Yeah.
Yeah, Belfry Coffee Shop. So like, he ends up at the coffee shop, and there's like a stand-up comedian there just doing his routine. And then the guy at the bar is like, "Hey, you ain't old enough to be hearing like hearing this kind of stuff." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Can I make a call?" And then seconds later, he says, "It's for you."
Yeah.
And it's Alfred saying, "Well, the young man at the counter has just purchased the coffee shop."
Yep. Like this ain't yours now, it's his, so
Yeah, like, it's just so many, like, it's funny.
yeah.
I like how there's a solid mix of like the drama aspect with like Bruce's, obviously his parents dying, and then like this criminal syndicate taking over Wayne Enterprises, and he doesn't know.
Right.
and like the drama of like him getting in out of jail and him like not taking things seriously, thinking he's above the law. Like it's a really nice blend, and it really fits like it's just well written, man. It really
Yeah.
fits like this time, you know.
And it
The
just makes
writing is
sense
really
that now he would feel like he's above the law because that's what he eventually feels and gets to when he's Batman. He's basically turning
yeah,
vigilante,
yeah.
like
I'm interested to see his evolution as Batman. You know what I
right,
mean? Like once he starts as Batman, is he gonna be still a little bit of this like careless, reckless kind of hero,
right,
kind of like he was, before he became Batman, or or is there a turning point and he becomes Batman because he realizes he can no longer be this like in and out of jail, take it easy kind of like
right,
he can't be a child anymore. Like he has to grow up essentially.
right,
I'm interested to see how Russell's going to play that
right.
because if it's the former and he becomes Batman and he still has this kind of attitude, I wonder how he's going to get checked to make him change and make him grow.
Right.
I don't know. Either way, this book is just so well written, dude. It's
It
so
is.
good.
It is. It's such a cool tone that these two creators have together. That Space Age had, that this has, where it's just like this
Yeah,
light-hearted yet serious yet dramatic yet comedic tone. Like they do
yeah.
it.
Like and like this like for Space Age, the scene that sticks out to me the most is when him and Pa Kent, they're just shucking corn,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're talking about life and they're just talking about like the future. Because at this point, Superman already knows something is going to happen. Like he thinks
Right.
he already knows like the world is going to end. So he's just like enjoying the time he has with his dad and just trying to soak up like, dude, I could do a whole episode on Space Age, bro.
Yeah.
Like I love that book.
It's a beautiful book, man.
So
Beautiful, beautiful.
I'm really really hoping we get a moment like that with Bruce and Alfred later on because it's I I would that's another part I'm interested. I really want to see their relationship grow because he's really just treating Alfred like the butler, you
Right.
know, not like somebody who's really going to look out for him. But I'm sure there will come a moment when Bruce gets his ass kicked, after being Batman,
And I'm
and he's gonna
sure,
have to.
he's living out the whole promise. He's probably like, I promised your parents. So even no matter how mean you are to me, no matter how much you push me, I am
Right.
a promise to your parents.
Right.
So
And like I have a feeling that we're gonna get that like full circle for them pretty not pretty soon, but I will get it at some point, I think. And it's gonna be really, really nice because I'm hoping it'll be something along the lines of like Bruce really gets his ass kicked and he like Alfred basically has to just sew him up and clean him up and get him like back to par.
yeah,
And it'll make Bruce realize like he like maybe he does give a shit and he's not just the butler.
right,
And then we'll get that moment of like I promised your parents that no matter what I would take care of you.
right.
Damn, I'm looking forward to that.
Me
That's
too. Me too. It's gonna be great. But then we go back to the Wayne Enterprise,
yeah, yeah,
and then we see them start to say like, we shouldn't be doing this, and we don't want Bruce to have it.
yeah.
We don't want him to have it. We want to
And
stay.
it's just like you said, they don't want to give up the power.
Right.
They just want to, keep it for themselves and keep that cash money.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like at this point, there's like the mysterious new president. Nobody's seen him, nobody knows who it is. And even the board is like, we don't even think that he exists. Like, who is this? Is he real? Like, blah, 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 blah. So like he's like, oh well, he'll come. And then it's like that same night, Bruce goes out one more time right here. And this is the moment right here. I'll just read it. And he's like, oh, are we going out again? Going out again tonight, are we? He says, I own a coffee shop now, Alfred. People love their night coffee. He said, I never had any children of my own, Master Bruce, so I didn't know how to raise you. And I suppose I'd even be worse at telling you how to run a business. But if there's one thing I learned from your father, it's this: no matter how rich you become, the world doesn't belong to you. It's just a place where you work. And then like the like narration from Bruce, I hated myself for saying it the moment the words came out of my mouth. You know what, Alfred? For the help, you sure have a lot of opinions.
Ooh.
So like, and Alfred Allred really like drives it home with. He's good with facial expressions, man.
Yeah.
Like, and you can see like the whole time, like Alfred's just like worried. He's like, I'm just trying to like give you like basically like, hey, watch, like just look out, you know? And he doesn't try to stop him. He just tries to give him advice and just tries to tell, like, just to, like almost like give him like some support, because he clearly realizes that Bruce is just having a, you don't even know, like, is he having a rough go or is he just acting out because his parents are dead? Like,
Right.
we don't know. Well, I mean, and we'll get to that probably. They'll unpack that later on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, either way, like, it's harsh, man.
Right. But I mean, even Bruce realizes it that night. He says, "I needed to grow up. Gotham was no longer my playground; it was my place of work."
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and like,
so,
and he's right, and like that's not even hours. Like right after he leaves the house, he's already taking into account what Alfred has said.
right,
So like, we're beginning to see a little bit of change,
yeah, and we're
but
starting to see him be the vigilante. He's going out. He's putting a hood on. He's going out, and you
yeah. So then like he sees like a couple like mixed up in the alleyway. It's a woman in the shadows. It's just some dude, some greaser looking guy, and he pulls out a pocket knife. you know, Bruce takes him down real quick, and then the girl, it turned out to be Selena,
know, hmm
and she knocks him down and she robs him real quick, and the police show up and they pull a fast one on him and they get away and they say that Bruce was trying to kill him.
right,
So off he goes to jail again,
right. But
which
now,
is like, it's like, man, bro, it's like, it's
yeah,
like again, and the only difference this time is the legal team is not there to back him up. And there's a really good reason for that, because as he goes into Blackgate Penitentiary, it's revealed that the new president of Wayne Enterprises is Pariah,
yes, sir,
which, man, what a twist, bro.
yeah, yeah.
Because I, what does this mean? I have no idea, you know, because in Space Age, Pariah died along with that universe, and he's just kind of drinking his sorrows away, not be like just kind of like giving up, right? So,
Right.
and he dies in the bar, doesn't he?
No, because Pariah basically, if you remember in like Dark Crisis, he has like the trauma of
Oh,
all
that's
the
right. Yeah,
universes
because he
die.
exists in every universe or whatever,
So he
right?
could like pop in and like, you know what I mean? He could pop into
Yeah. So
any
yeah. So okay, he didn't die. He just let the universe die.
right. And just kind
So
of feel like, oh man, it's gonna happen. This sucks. Nothing I can
so
do.
it, and they're pretty like they're keeping it secret, man. Like there's because they're like in Space Age number one. I mean, granted, it was a lot longer. Like we saw him pretty quick, I thought,
We did.
and he gave a lot of like exposition, like something is coming, the world is gonna die, like I'm just if whether or not you believe me, maybe I'm just crazy, like he was like literally like the crazy pariah, like trying to warn everybody and like, but knows it's futile, so he's not even gonna bother with trying to stop anything.
Right.
So I
And
wonder
he
what his
says
plan is
like this
here.
isn't gonna be long term. This just has to be up to 1985, which we know what
Yeah.
happens in 1985 is crisis
So
on.
I wonder if there's he has some plan to like avoid the crisis, and then maybe he'll hand the company over to Bruce. I don't know.
Right. I
Because where does
also
this end at? Do you remember when? Let's see.
what's that?
I was trying to see what year this was in.
Well, it says we know that two parts of it. I just don't know because Bruce grows up, right? So
Yeah, he looks like he's a little bit older in this second
he
half of
is.
it. So I mean, it would have to be what, the 60s maybe. Late. I mean, obviously the
At
last year
least at the most the 70s, like the early 70s at the most.
because like the last time we see a date on a page was
19,
57. I thought
no, 63.
63. Where was that?
Let me see. Right.
No, you're right. 1963. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have to be
So he
60s, late
yeah,
60s, early 70s. Because he's about to be 18.
right.
So, I mean, regardless, he's kind of on the cusp of adulthood, and his get out of jail free card finally ran out.
Right.
So along with Pariah taking over Wayne Enterprises, I mean, dude's got his work cut out for him, you know.
And this final for the cover of the next
The
issue,
cover looks
I'm
sick, dude.
wondering, is he about to become Batman in jail?
I mean, maybe, and then based off that cover, it kind of looks like there's a couple rogues in there.
Yeah, it looks like there's Poison Ivy.
I mean, and this could set the precedent for Arkham
Exactly. This
in
could turn
this
into an Arkham
universe
Asylum, you know?
because right now they're all on Blackgate. So
Right.
if and maybe that's just the only place they can house them. And once Bruce and becomes Batman, and we see like the rogues really expand, maybe at that point we'll see like the creation of Arkham Asylum
Yeah,
or something, because it doesn't look like there's anything like that in this universe.
right. And for a first issue, this was pretty dense, but really easy to follow, easy to
Yeah,
read.
yeah. It sets up a lot. It's well written. The art is really clean. The story is really interesting, you know. It's an interesting take on Bruce Wayne and his origin and how he becomes Batman. Uh, it was cool, man.
Yeah, it's
It
awesome.
was hella cool.
But I give this a 10 out of 10, I got you here because we weren't able to talk about it. So I want to get your reaction to this while you're here. We have 8 minutes left.
Okay.
There are about 4 new retcons in the latest Batman issue.
Let me have them. I want to hear them.
Okay. So the killing joke, right? Killing joke happened.
Yeah.
It happened because Joker was trying to get Zur-En-Arrh out now. He was trying to bait him to basically traumatize him so that Zur-En-Arrh would come out, and it keeps failing. Joker's basically, this whole time, he's been trying to get Zur out because he feels that's the real Batman, right? So Killing Joke was all to bait Zur out. Death in the Family, Jason Todd, was there to bait Zur out. And basically now Batman, Joker basically says a thing to Batman where basically he has a thing to bring Zur out, and it's because the guy who taught him those other personalities gave him a little phrase so that he could bring Zur out himself, which is what happens in Batman RIP. So now Batman RIP happened because Joker baited Zur out.
Okay. So basically, what you're telling me is that Zdarsky is retconning like not only Alan Moore but also Grant Morrison and probably a slew of other things that have happened in the past, just so it can fit this story that he's telling.
Yes. And then
This sounds like Donnie Cates on fucking steroids,
it's
bro.
bad. And then on top of this, bring this full circle, it was Joker that went to Penguin in the beginning of this and said, "You need to fake your death because that's the only way we can get Failsafe going. And if Failsafe comes out, Zur will have to come out. That's the only way I can get Zur out." Because basically, we see in a flashback that Joker didn't kill that guy that gave him other personalities like we thought. He has him housed in like a cell.
Well, of
And
course. Come on.
basically, here's the other retcon. And basically, while he's in the cell during the death of the family, the Scott Snyder Joker face,
Uh-huh.
where he basically in that story, he takes Alfred, beats him, and poisons him. While
Uh-huh.
Alfred's poisoned, Alfred gives it up to him that Bruce has a robot that comes to life. It's a failsafe, and it comes to life whenever it's supposed to come to life whenever he kills somebody to take him down. Joker hears about that. And in Death of the Family, we see that Joker has been in the Batcave. So Zdarsky ties it to this. Joker sees failsafe. So that's where he's like, okay, this is how I get Zur-En-Arrh out because Zur-En-Arrh made him. So we got to get failsafe activated, and then Zur-En-Arrh will come out because of all my failed attempts in the past to try to bring Zur out.
Okay.
It sounds like awful fan fiction, dude. Like awful. Like
Okay. I just don't know what to say because it's just like weird, man.
it
Like
is.
like, and I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, I've read all this Batman, so it really bothers me. But like,
You know these events though. Like
yeah,
these are
and
big
I've
events.
read like, and I've read The Killing Joke, like, and it's like kind of my deal with Superman. I've read Hush, I've read Killing Joke, I've read some of the I've read the Dark, like the first Dark Knight by Frank Miller. Like, I've read like the bigger stuff, you know. So like, and I've read a little bit of Grant Morrison's runs, but like, and I've even read the New 52.
Yeah,
Like, I've read like a decent amount of Batman,
right.
and
But
this just sounds
now
like
he
all
basically,
of
yeah, he tied Zur to Killing Joke, Death in the Family, Death of the Family, and the beginning of the Failsafe arc now. Joker's been doing this all along.
bro. Like, it just makes me tired.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like, dude, why? It's because I really liked Zdarsky's The Night series, and the fact that he's just shoehorning everything around this Daniel Captillo guy who taught them these personalities and everything like that. It's just,
I don't know. It just seems like it's another like it just seems like it's the same Joker story
yeah,
again and again and again. It's like, this is why we need Batman, but this time you're not actually Batman. Zur-En-Arrh is the real Batman.
right. And Zur-En-Arrh is still the Batman of Gotham right now. Batman's still in a prison trying to get out,
Okay,
and
you know what? The only way that I will allow I'll be okay with any of this is if Zdarsky lets Zur kill the Joker.
yeah, that would be cool. I would like that.
You know? Because
Yeah,
listen, Bruce, your hands are clean, dog. You don't have to worry about it. You let the evil version of you, who is no longer in your body, kill your biggest enemy.
yeah.
Zdarsky, I'll forgive everything you've ever done in this book if that's how you end it. If you let Zur kill the Joker and then that's it, we're good.
I just feel like DC doesn't have the balls to do that. And if anything,
No, I know, they'll never do it, but
if anything, I feel like it's going to be like Zur wiped his other two personalities, and now it's just one Joker and not
now
the other two.
you're probably right. You're probably right. It's just gonna be him like getting him using the three Jokers as like a vehicle to tell the Zur story with the Joker. So
Mhm.
they're like the same again, where
Right,
they're the duality of Batman and the Joker,
right,
and then it's gonna end with Batman or Bruce and the Joker not having their alt personalities.
right.
The three Jokers will be just the one, and we'll probably no longer see Zur after this.
Yep. And
So lame.
and dude, all these retcons were just in
Ugh.
the first 4 pages of this book. All of them. Everything I just told you is in the first 4 pages of this new issue.
What?
Yeah.
What's the rest of the issue?
Him dealing with Zur-En-Arrh and basically dealing with Gotham, showing Damian with Zur and all that. But the
They're
first,
working together?
yeah, and
No,
they're making it seem
it's
like
worse.
They're making it seem like Damian's like, oh, you don't trust my father. Of course, my father is the best. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it to where Damian,
It's like a double agent.
yeah. So
I hope so, man. You know
yeah,
what? At least we have this.
yes. At least we have these Elseworlds books that are doing great
At
with
least
Batman
this
because
book exists. Because if this book didn't exist, I would not be reading any Batman, probably.
I agree. I would be.
Oh, God, that sucks. All
Yep.
right, enough about that. Thanks
Mhm.
for tuning in again, guys. We'll be back next week, probably.
All right.
Hopefully. Peace out.
Later on, guys.